So first, my name is Cassandra Ketrick. I've met a lot of you guys, but some of you are new faces to me. So feel free to hang out afterwards and introduce yourselves. These sessions are kind of meant to be short and sweet, hopefully, jam-packed with information that applies to you. We try to hit it all, but I am about 9 months into my position at NYU, but I've been using the CMS CQ for 5 years because we had it at my previous job. So I have a lot of experience, but that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes and I still don't do the same things that I tell you guys not to do. So I think that that's important to note, though, that it's always a growing process. You're always going to learn new things. You're going to forget those things you learned, and then you're going to relearn them. And that's just kind of a process of any tool that you're using. So hopefully this is going to be really valuable to you guys. Alrighty, so let's get started today. I kind of built out our session today in the CMS because that makes it right. We're talking about CMS, might as well kind of host it within the CMS rather than a PowerPoint or something like that. And again, you guys on GoToMeeting, let me know if you can't see my screen at any time. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and that's kind of cutting off some of our screen, but we'll work with that. So the first thing is link mapping images. You all know how to link an image because it's very clear in the CMS how to do that. This is an image component that I've placed here, and as you can see, there's this link field, so I could put one link in there. But what happens if you have an image that has multiple icons? For example, social media, we've seen this be used. This example is taken from the Wasserman Career Development site. You can actually map each image individually. So the way to do that is in the Image tab, you're going to select Map, and this little bar is going to pop up, and you can actually move this to where you feel comfortable with it. And then you're going to select what shape you want to create. For today, I'm just going to check a rectangle, and then I'm going to use my cursor to draw a rectangle around this Facebook icon. So then I'm going to select Edit because I'm going to want to put in my URL. And for this example, I'm just going to write it out, but normally you would copy and paste. And then the text is going to be the text, kind of the alt text to an image, but this is the text that's going to display if someone moused over the image. So I'm going to put NYU Facebook. And then the other fields you can leave as is. Those are only two. So you have your link and then your text. Text is not required, but I would recommend it. So if I select OK, the page is going to refresh, and then I'll go into preview mode to show you that it's now linking out to Facebook. So, oops, as you can see, this Facebook link is working, and none of these other icons are linked out because we haven't set them yet. But you can set individual links to specific images. So this is really handy. We encourage use of the column control component and the image component, but that does offer some restrictions in terms of your layout. You could use like a Photoshop tool and combine multiple images and link them out if that was something that you needed for your content. So that's very handy. The other thing I'll mention about this is, so what if you want to go edit these links? So again, you're going to select the map icon, and then as you notice, nothing pops up. Well, it's because nothing is selected. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to select right on the edge of this, and now I can edit my fields by selecting edit, and then I can change my URL or my text. Same thing, delete is going to delete that map, and then you could start over. I've just showed you this tool and I had no problems, but I assure you when you go in to use it, this will happen. You're gonna go, okay, Facebook, and then you're gonna say, oh, you know what? I really want that square to be smaller, and you're gonna want to click it, and then you're gonna drag, and you're gonna go, what? Cassie didn't do that. So this is how, if that happens, you've correct it. So I've basically drawn two boxes, and the reason why is because I didn't select that edit before I tried to touch it. So you select edit, you can select one of the boxes and delete it. So then again, how do I edit this? I select the box, I make sure edit is selected, and then now I can put in the URL. So that's link mapping images, and there is a great tutorial on our CMS training site, which can be accessed at nyu.edu/CMS. All these component tutorials have that. And I'm also going to make this page that I've created available to you guys, so you could always refer back to it. So the link is also here. So number 2, top 5 thing that we see, well, actually, this is kind of a fun thing. We don't get a lot of questions about this, but I think it's kind of nice to know. So customize your details pane. So in your site admin view, you're going to see a lot of columns, and some of those columns you could care less about. So let me show you how you can customize them. Go back to our site admin view. So I was in edit view, and now I'm going into the site admin view. And as you can see, I have these different displays. We don't have impressions in the CMS, so I'm going to turn them off by selecting the notch, and then I can go in here and uncheck that item. So modified, usually we want to know that. Published, name, and title, these are all things usually we use. And template, I actually use a lot. So I'm going to, and then status is, always blank. So I can then customize this. Once you customize it, I found that you never need to customize it again. Now, maybe if we do an upgrade or we do some major work on within, CQ, that you might need to customize it again. But if I logged out and then log back in right now, my settings would be saved. So that's a way to kind of clean up your view and then only have the information that you really care about display. So number 3, a lot of times people ask us who owns a page or who updates that page. There's 2 great ways of finding out that information. One is via the feedback component. So if a lot of times people, you're on the site and you see some information that maybe references your office, or maybe you've had a unit name change, or all kinds of, details get updated on an hourly basis practically. You can go in and use the feedback component or form, and then you can select this. It is set up right now that if you are a site or a content owner within the CMS, you are set to, like if you're an approver role, you will receive these feedback emails. Sometimes they don't spit off to you because the feedback was done on a different page that you didn't own, but maybe it refers back to your department. We do handle all the feedback through our office, digital communications, and so sometimes we might contact you if we notice that something hasn't been changed, like a URL hasn't been updated. Hey, did you see this feedback? Can you get in touch with this, user? So this is also a great way for internally for us to help update content, and it will go to the site owner. The other nice way of seeing who possibly owns a page, or definitely who would have the ability to edit it, is in the field within the CMS. You're going to be able to see who owns it right here. So this is actually the person who last published the page, and then you can also, if you kind of fold this in, and we'll fold this out, who last modified the page. This is also helpful information if you have multiple people on your unit editing pages and maybe you're not always in constant communication. This is a good way to tell who's last updated it. Then you can, there's no nice way of getting their email from this, but then you can use the NYU search, get their email, and send them off an email if you have some questions, or if you think that your content would be helpful on their page, perhaps they could use the reference component and do that. So that's a good, I think, networking technique, so we can know who is where. And that being said, the CMS is great because we're all in one location. We can share content, we can see content, but you can't always edit it. That doesn't mean that you can't see this information. If I went to the About section, even though I'm a super user, I have a lot of access normally than most people would have, you're still going to be able to see this. So you can click on any section, even if you don't own it, and then be able to see who is last updating the page. It's a good gauge. It's like a breadcrumb. So moving a page, this is a very frequently asked question. How do I, people don't ask how do I move a page, but they ask how do I rename the page or do the URL of a page. And the confusing part about this is the dialog box to change a page's title, so the header at the top. This would be a header. advanced CMS refresh, and the URL that displays at the very end are in different locations. So the URL is advanced CMS-refresh, and that's where it gets confusing. So let me show you how to change it, and that's by using the move feature. So that's why I'm using that word. So let's go down to this page. Okay, so first I would like to retitle our page. What am I going to do? You can actually do this from the sidekick in the CMS edit page, but first I'm going to show you how to do it from the site admin view. You'll right click, page properties, and this is the title. So I'm going to change it to just one word. I'm going to add edit. I'll say okay. That will reflect here. But as you can see, the URL didn't change. This is because we need to move the page. When I select move, I'm going to see this rename to. Now I can type in my new URL. I want the same trajectory. I'm not really moving the page, so to speak. It's not going under a new section at this point. So the default is that it stays in the exact same place. So for this example, I don't need to change anything up here, move or to, because it's staying in the same location. I just edited the field by adding a word. So I'm going to select move. It's going to ask me if I'm sure. I am. Thank you, CMS, for checking with me. And then now it's going to be changed. As you can see, the new name is reflected there, edit. It should automatically activate that change, but it's my habit to go ahead and activate that. So in order to make sure that everything sticks, I usually just reactivate the page. So if I refresh this page, you'll see that my changes have been reflected. Or not. What did I do? Oh, I changed. Okay, thank you. We'll open it up again. So I don't know if you heard that, but the URL changed and I was refreshing the old URL, so that's the reason why it didn't update. So as you can see, the update is displayed. Okay. So that's renaming a page, but I also want to mention the sidekick. You can't rename the URL, but you can rename the page in the page properties tab within your edit mode. So as you can see, my title displays here. Where that gets confusing is now again, how do I change my URL? Well, you do that from the site admin view that I just showed you. One other thing, though, I mentioned moving a page is important to actually moving a page. So let me actually open this up in another tab so I don't have to keep going back and forth. The other function of the Move tab is to move pages. We recommend that users use the Move tab and not drag and drop. And I can show you what I'm talking about, because it actually will make sure on the CMS backend of things that all URLs, if done properly, update to that new trajectory, to that new IA. So I'm going to use a test section page, and I'm going to move it underneath our CMS refresh section. So because I'm actually moving it into a new section, I'm going to need to change the two sections. So I'm going to go down here, and like I said, I wanted to move it underneath this refresh folder. And we're going to keep it the same name for this example. So as you can see, it shows, what are these? These are actually references to the page. So it's telling you these pages have that piece of content, that page's content reference to them. So there's links on these pages to the page we're moving. It's letting you know this, and it's giving you this option of adjusting it and republishing it. You never want to uncheck these. You always want the CMS to do the nitty-gritty work for you. You don't want to have to go back and update your URLs. You want them to do it for you. So you just say move. You don't need to check anything else once you select your new path. So once this refreshes, as you can see, it's been moved, and this yellow means that it was in works, basically, like it's pending. Then as you saw, I refreshed and it turns green. Now it's activated. So what did I mean, lastly, real quick, by making sure your URLs are done right? within the CMS, when you're linking to pages within the CMS, it's very important that you actually use the path to that page for the reason I just said. If you do that, if you do the hard work now, it saves you a lot of pain in the future. So site admin, let's say I wanted to link this to a top level page in the CMS, let's say this About NYU page. As you can see, I'm using this tree view and I'm selecting it. That's an easy example because I know most of you guys have a lot of folders to open up, but it is important to do that work now, because now that it has the trajectory, if I ever moved this page, that URL would automatically update. So if the About section ever moved to maybe under the admissions section, it wouldn't do that. But if it did, this URL would automatically update. It would not break on our page. What's the other option? I could copy and paste the URL, right? So the other option, which is the easy way, but short-term easy, long-term painstaking, is if I just went to the nyu.edu site and I went to our About section and I pasted my URL, right? Easy. But that URL is not gonna, it's not a smart URL, it's not a smart path, it's not gonna know to update. A lot of times that's why we put redirects in, because people bookmark things and stuff like that if there was a major change. But I just try to point people to using, to navigating via the path, and these are pages inside the CMS. If you were doing a page outside the CMS, this is the way you would do it. So if we were linking to Google, for example, we would just paste the URL into this field, and now it would link to Google. That's okay. That's normal. It's just navigating to the path within pages of the site, within pages of the CMS is important. So that's moving a page. There's a lot of information with moving a page, but it's really important, and we get that question a ton. Setting anchors. So we get this question pretty frequently too. And as you can see, what's this little yellow square that I've got going on here? It's not an additional plugin. It's built into the CMS. It's called annotations. Any component on the page, if you right click, you can select annotate, and you can copy or you can paste notes in here or write notes to each other. It does tell you who wrote the note using your net ID down here. This is never on the live site. It's only on the back end for us users, so it's nice. So I've made a note to myself to use bonus as an anchor example. So setting anchors, so this would be something at the top of my page. I've created our little agenda, and to show you how this works, go to my live site. If I click, well, that's not a good example. If I click move a page, it's going to jump to move a page. As you can see, move a page is right here. I've created an anchor for that. So, and set anchors. It's going to go to set anchors. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that using our bonus. So first, what I would recommend is to what is the section that you're wanting to drop down to? That's where you're going to put your anchor. Think of it like you're on a ship. You got to throw the anchor down first. So we're throwing down our anchor. We're going to open up this bonus, and it literally looks like an anchor. Look at that. I'm going to open that. It does do this. Don't worry. Don't be alarmed. It sometimes throws you down here. If it does that, it's okay. We're just going to put bonus here. So you can see this little icon, the anchor icon. Now I'm going to say OK to save that change. And now I'm going to go basically create my rope to the anchor. So it's essentially a link. It's like an on-page link is the way to think of anchors. I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to open, just like a hyperlink, I'm going to open this dialog box. And then what you can do is there's actually handy instructions right here. Anchor. Enter anchor name preceded by a hashtag. So as you saw, I used the word bonus as my anchor. So now when I select OK, that's going to show as pink, which means it's a link. and I select OK. And now if I select that, it's going to drop me down to bonus. A couple extra cool things. There's a built-in anchor into the CMS top. So if you have a very long page, like maybe it's a policy page or maybe it's just a page with a lot of information, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's always important to think about your content and what you're wanting people to get at. If they have to click a bunch of links to get to all of your content, maybe it's worth having maybe a longer page, but very well organized, right? Using headers and images and all kinds of things. So people don't mind scrolling. I mean, if you're on your phone, this is, using your finger to scroll down isn't necessarily a bad thing. What can throw people off a lot of times is tons of links all over the place, is going down the rabbit hole, so to speak. But every page and every section is different. So I'm not recommending that your pages go on for days. I'm just saying, think about, maybe what's right for your content. But the top anchor is built in. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm at the bottom of a page, and I'll just use this example. It's somewhat to the bottom of a page. And you could put in some text that says, click here to go to the top. I'm not necessarily recommending that as the best option, but then if you link to it, what you're going to do is you're going to say hashtag top, because it's built in. You don't have to drop your anchor. The anchor's already been dropped for you in the CMS. So it's now going to take me to the top. And one other fun extra, I'm not going to go into detail about this one in interest of time, but is that you can also link to anchors on another page. So these are within page anchors. If you have an anchor that you've dropped on another page, you can also put the path to that anchor, and I'll just show you what that will look like. So you'd want to put the link, navigate to the link, the page that you're wanting, and at the very end of it, put your hashtag and then what the anchor is called. In this case, I've called my anchor anchor. And then lastly, before we get into your guys' pre-submitted questions, bookmarking a page. We had this asked of us not too long ago, and we were like, yeah, there's really no way to bookmark a page. In terms of if you logged into the CMS, it's not like you could have a favorite section. But just as a reminder, you can bookmark any page using a Firefox browser. And if you're already logged in, the page is going to open itself. If you're not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in, and then it's actually going to take you into your site admin view, but it's going to go ahead and open up your tree and get you to the page in that site admin view. So make sure you're logged into the CMS, and I could go in here and I could actually bookmark my authored page using bookmark this page. And then, as you can see, if I go to that page, it's going to open up for me when it decides to work. I think it's down. Maybe, where did it go? Because it's already open, it doesn't want to open. Okay, there we go. So there you go, bookmarking the CMS. We figured it out. Okay, so let's get into some of the fun stuff real quick. Does anybody have any questions about the overview that I just gave? And that goes for you guys too online if you want to type in a question at this point. Otherwise, we'll go straight into the pre-submitted questions. Yes?
Yes, good question. Which alias do we use when I get an error message because the page not moving is referenced by a different page that's not under my jurisdiction?
So so the question is, who do you email to move a page if you don't own a page to move it, or if it's being referenced by a top level page? Exactly. I would recommend emailing digital.communications@nyu.edu, and then someone from our team can look into that. So that's a great question. If you're trying to move a page and it's being referenced by a top level page, this would be like a channel page and about admissions, it's going to be a permissions issue. So someone on our team would need to make that move for you. So that's not a big deal, but it will happen, yeah, if you have some closer to top level pages. And was there a question? Did you have a question? Oh, awesome. Great question. Yes.
I just have a question about the, it's, I guess, link mapping or linking the images in general. While the text part isn't required, that's what screen readers use, correct?
Yes. I would, so the reason why I said it's kind of an option is you could, I mean, I think it's great to put more data in, and that's right. So the question is on the link mapping, I'm only repeating it so they can hear, but the question is on the link mapping, I didn't say that, it's not required to put in the text for each specific link, but it is important for screen readers and accessibility to do so. The other option is it does require you in the image component to put in alt text. So you could just put in social media for NYU as your overall alt text, and then when the screen reader is reading, it will read the link, and then it'll be obviously twitter.com/. So I think it's always nice to have that extra text.
So it has the alt text and the title text.
It'll read both. Exactly. So that's a great question. So it's just how conscientious you are of it, I think, is what it comes down to. Okay, so let's move on to some of your awesome questions. And then if we have time, we'll take some more today. But I have a feeling a lot of you guys probably have the same questions, which is great. So one of the questions we received is, how do I get analytics for my CMS pages? And that is through Urchin. So if you go, there's this page, and I've linked to it on our advanced CMS page right here under analytics resource. There is a short URL for it, and I can't remember it for the life of me. It might be /Urchin, but it is under our digital communications website. And how to access analytics, there's some overview items here that you can look at, and it'll kind of tell you what you need to do. So if it's a CMS user, you're going to want to select your nyu.edu profile. I went ahead and logged into Urchin to show you kind of where I look for analytics for our pages. So I see probably a lot more than some people would see, but let me log in again. That's a good question. I feel like the first time you have to create it. Well, the access, to get access.
Oh yeah, do I have to request it?
I think you requested it at urchin-support@nyu.edu. Right here at urchin-support. So a guy, Chris, on our team handles all that account information. So he'll get you set up, and then you'll be able to see your section. So what I'll do is I'll go into there, I'll be in nyu.edu, and then where I usually just go straight to is the content optimization, and then content performance, and then content drill down. There are multiple ways to get to different sections in your site, so this is just one. This is just how I do it. I think a session that entirely about analytics would be great for our group, so we're working on that in the future. So then from here, if you click on the folders, you're going to open up, and basically each of these is as a URL under your section. And then if there are children pages under it, you can get deeper and deeper. How do you get back? Close the folder. So I'm basically clicking it and closing the folder, and it's taking me back. But yeah, so you can see views and some basic information from this display: visits, page views, average time on site, and then of course you can change your date span here. So that's a great question, accessing analytics. We had a few questions about the video player. Can you embed YouTube and Vimeo URLs? And the question is yes and no. So we recently rolled out a new upgrade to our video player about 2 months ago, and we sent email communication to all you guys about that. Hopefully you got it. But there is a new ability to embed a URL for YouTube. And Vimeo is not being supported right now for this, but That is a very rare request for us at this point. I don't know if we'll revisit it, but YouTube is ready to go. You just put the URL there. You identify how wide it needs to be. So this is in a 2-column space, and that's all you need to do. If you are using the DAM to host your videos, which isn't a bad thing, but now that we're offering YouTube, we do recommend that, if it makes sense for your unit to create a YouTube channel, it's a great way for your SEO and all kinds of things to push people to your YouTube channel. If you do upload a video to the DAM, under our CMS, that's our blog, CMS tutorials, you'll be able to see these specifications for the video. So I'm just going to pull those up. So I'm just basically going to our video component. Oops, I lost myself, hold on. So this is going to tell you all the information. Like if you're using the URL, it's very easy. You just put the URL in. But if you're hosting it within the CMS, you can install the caption file for the DAM videos, and the video specifications are right here. So this is what we recommend to be hosted within the CMS.
Are there stats available for the videos?
There is not, and that's another negative for hosting them in the DAM, and why YouTube is really powerful for that.
NYU Stream is also.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with NYU Stream, but I don't know if you would see.
Yeah, they have the views.
Okay, they show you your views. I don't know how in depth they get. I do know on YouTube though, you can actually see when people drop off your video. So if you're trying to tell your boss's boss's boss that a 10-minute video isn't really cutting it, and that it needs to be around 2 minutes, that's a great piece of data to show them that people are not watching this video more than 30 seconds, so we need to cut that down. So YouTube is very powerful on the analytics side, so if that's important to your unit, I would really recommend doing that and then just using the video component to host the video. Great question. Adding links to external sites, I already went over that, but I'll add one extra, linking to a PDF. We had that question. We had it a couple times, so that's why I wanted to go over it with you guys today. So first, you would want to upload your PDF to your digital asset manager. And I'm just going to use an example that already exists. I see a lot more than you guys, so don't be alarmed. Let's just say they're usually under documents, this doctoral PDF. So I've created my PDF, it's on my desktop, I've said new, I've browsed to it, I've uploaded it, here it is, I've activated it. Every asset you put into the DAM, activate it immediately because there's no reason not to. And if you try to publish a page with an unactive asset, it won't work. So important to activate when you upload an asset, then you don't have to worry about it. So now my doctoral PDF is ready to go, and we'll just go back over here and I'll show you how to link to it. Copy the text that you're wanting to link the PDF out to, and then you're going to want to go into your digital assets folder, NYU. For this example, we were using this top folder, documents, doctoral. So I'm just going to select that. Say OK, and now we have the link to the PDF. There are recommended best practices for linking to PDFs, and those again are on our website, and you can find them right here. Possibly. Where did they go? I know it's in here, but I may have linked to the wrong page. Give me 1 second. Do you remember where it was, Karen? The PDF? I know. No. It should be though. Well, I'll find that and I'll update the page. But there is usually we recommend that you put the size of the PDF, like 30, megabytes next to it so that people know, and then making sure that it says PDF somewhere in the link so that people know it's PDF. But there are like a recommended guide on our website. I'll make sure to link to that and update this page so you guys can have access to it. Another question we had was about the org chart, how to update the images. So if you're on the NYU site, and you all should have access to your org chart pages. If you don't, email digital.communications. We can make sure that's set up for you guys. But see that this John Sexton has his image, but Rich, he's just a gray man. So we could update this very easily, and each of you have access to do this. And the tutorial we have set up here explains it very well. In the image tab, you'll just add the image. So obviously it's going to need to be in the DAM like normal authoring in the CMS, but you'll just drag that image, that headshot, into the image tab on your key personnel page. Key personnel components are not available on every page. Obviously, they're only available on the org chart pages. So when you're on the org chart, those appropriate components will display. And let's see, table component tutorial. Get a lot of questions about the table component. There is, unfortunately, at this time, no way to import a table and have it convert or anything like that. It's all manually updating it. But there are some really cool tricks I can show you guys that even when I learned, I was like, whoa, I didn't know it could do that. So you can change the width of your cells by right-clicking cell properties. So there's a lot of options here for you to change the width. And there's a link here I'll get to in a second, and it'll give you some recommendations for widths depending on your column size. Most of these are self-explanatory, like adding a row, deleting a row, but that is one thing I didn't know. Also, right-clicking and saying table properties is going to allow you to get some more customization on the table as a whole. And then in your advanced tab, you have the option of stripe alternating rows. First column rows contain headers. So that's why a lot of our table components show the alternating rows, is because that's selected as an option. And then, as I mentioned, the table component tutorial has great information about sample column width solutions and how to change that. So there's a lot of great information here, including noted bugs, so some common issues that you may experience, but it'll kind of point you to them. Column control, we had a question about, let's see. Well, in general, we just get questions about column control and how does it work. I would say the thing that I notice people doing incorrectly, or maybe they get confused by, is as follows. So I'm going to add column control to this page. That basically means that this is a one, it's a 3-column space, but when I say that, it's a little confusing. So it's just an entire space that the content will flow to, but I want to break it up more. So I'm adding column control. Okay. So I've added it right up here, and I want to say edit, and this is where you can choose your layout, so to speak, of your columns. So 4-1 means a large left side and a very small right side. So it's going to be 4 columns spanning and then 1 small column. So let's see what that looks like. So as you can see, there's a 4-column width and then a 1 column. So if I drag, and you can change these at any time, it won't delete your content, or if you deleted the column control, it's not going to delete your content. Okay, so let me just move some of this stuff around and then show you what I see most often. So let's say that this is all we wanted in this section, but we didn't want our next text to start right here. I don't want what I'm about to do, but I want to show you an example. I don't want my new text to go right underneath bonus. I actually want it to go below pre-submitted questions, but not over here. I want it on the left side. I'm particular about this. So what I would recommend doing is adding another column control. And what this is going to do is, hold on, not work. I think I'm working the CMS too hard right now. It's slowing down on me. Well, I'm doing this all on Wi-Fi. Also, I'm not plugged in, so you guys experience, hopefully, the CMS working much faster than this. So being plugged in and not using Wi-Fi will help if you are having performance issues. Okay, so where did my column control go? Let's see. I must have done something weird. Let's go ahead and move this up. And this column control is going to be the same span. Okay. Let's go ahead and move this over here for this example. So my new text, I wanted to, like I said, I want it to start not right below the bookmark section. So now if I go into preview mode, you'll see that it's right here. It's where I wanted it to be. That's not the best example in terms of a real life situation that you may encounter, but essentially adding column controls on top of each other is going to help with your formatting if you're trying to really be very particular about your lines and where things begin and start so that the eye can flow through the page. So don't be afraid of column control, experiment with it. Again, like I said, if you don't like it, you can delete it. It's not going to delete the content that's within the column control. It'll just push it around, and then you can make, you can put it where you want it to be. So those were all most of the questions that we received in terms of things I wanted to go through. Just a last few things to mention. Right now, Flickr, Facebook, embedding Instagram photos is not offered in the CMS. Having some kind of social component is definitely on our radar. So, I'll leave that at that. We are in the process of upgrading to the new system. So this is 5.4. We're working with CQ 5.4, and we skipped a version, and we're going to be upgrading to 5.6.1. And so you guys will be receiving communications about that and what that means for you. In terms of authors, you're not going to see much functionality difference at this time. What we want to do is we're going to go and stand up the same instance, adding no new functionality, making sure that that's right, and then build on from there. So it is green. So we see blue when we're in the CMS. The new system is green. That's really the only difference you should see when we roll that out in the beginning. And then we'll be able to work on better components. So one component that I'm personally very passionate about, so is Karen, is the photo gallery component. We know that it is finicky, it has bugs, it works, but it could be better. So that's something that we want to dig into after the upgrade, and definitely social component is on our radar. The ability to create contact forms was a question. If you have some kind of form that you need for your office, we have a submit a request on our website, and I'll just go here real quick. So the short URL for our website is nyu.edu/digital-communications, and that'll take you to our main page. And you can submit a project request form. And so say this is a form that we built, so this is an example of that, but you could request a form, and then our project managers will, get back to you about that. But we don't allow users to create forms. And let's see, adding policies to pages is a great question. There is a policy tutorial on our website. That's our blog. I keep going there. Let's see here. If you have a policy that has never been done before, you need to contact the policy office, and that is on here too. Let's see here. I went too far. Components, and it's considered a specialized or page-specific component, actually, the policy component. Okay, so it's under the policy section on the website, and there are specific templates for policies. And getting in touch with the policies office first to make sure that a policy is approved. Usually they add this for people. We have about 10 minutes, so are there any other questions? Yes?
If you've done a lot of work in a 3.2 template, you want to switch to 4.1, can you do that?
Great question. If you've done work in a 3.2 template, can you switch to a 4.1 without losing all your work? No. I know. I say that with a sad face. Right now, there's no way to toggle between templates. Once you set up your template, it's hard-coded. However, that is definitely something that we would love to introduce to our users sooner rather than later. Right now, what I would recommend, depending on how robust the page is, sometimes rethinking your page can be helpful, in that process. You can copy and paste components. It is a long and tedious work, but you can. I've done it. You can select more than one component at a time. They all don't always copy, but most of them do. So if I select like 5 components, usually like 3 of them will copy over. Hey, it's better than one. I'm like, I won't be too picky because I understand that it's not perfect, but that is something that I think we should we want to address. To copy in a component, I'll just show you guys real quickly. I've had my digital asset pane hidden through this presentation. You can always do that yourself with this little toggle, but I'm going to pull it up so you can see because it shows you your clipboard. If you right click on a component and say copy, it's going to copy to your clipboard. As you see, it popped up there, NYU image. The important thing to note is that I can't go to another tab and paste it. See, my clipboard isn't there. You have to navigate within the same tab because it's copied to this specific moment in time, I guess. So if I wanted to add that image to, let's say, this page, I would just navigate to the page, and then as you can see, my clipboard's still showing that, and then I could say right click, paste, and then when it refreshes, my image will be there. There it is. So that's better than nothing, but it is not ideal. I agree.
And then one thing to point out is if you go to the site admin console, you'll reach your clipboard, so you have to navigate within the pages.
Okay.
Don't press the button.
So Karen was saying that one other thing to note is you need to navigate within the edit view that I just did, not go back and forth to your site admin because your clipboard will clear itself. So note that you're going to want to navigate within the same window. Yeah, great question. Yes. Embedding calendar, yes. Yeah, great. Embedding a calendar. So everyone should have this events calendar component on the page. If you don't, for some reason, email digital.communications@nyu.edu will make sure that that's turned on for your template. But it's only certain templates, and yeah, 3, 2, and 4, 1 templates. And if you go to the component tutorials on here, general. Okay, wait, maybe not. Is it specialized? Maybe events calendar. You'll be able to see like where it's allowed, an example of the calendar and kind of your options. If you're wanting to request the calendar, email events@nyu.edu to get your own calendar set up. But you could pull in, someone else's calendar or the main NYU calendar into the CMS. So it only functions within a 1-column space. So this is a 2-column space. I'm going to go ahead and break it up with this column control. And then you'll just drag it like a normal component. And then you'll follow, I would recommend following the instructions for how to embed your calendar. So on the events calendar, you can put a title. This would be the URL to the calendar. It tells you how to, get that URL here to configure it. And then you can decide if you want your component to show upcoming events or how many events you want it to show. It's pretty customizable. And then if they click on that event for more information, it's going to pop you off to the events calendar. So that's what it looks like. Yeah. 2 and 4, 1. Right. But it only works in the 1-column space. So in your 3, 2, you would need to make sure it's in a 1-column space broken up. Yeah.
But if it's not one of those columns, can you add a column to do one?
On a different template?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Only on those templates is it being offered right now. Good question. Yes.
When having a form that you all create through the front request form, how do we, as the owners at that point, retrieve information and what format do we get it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we're creating a form for you and you've gone through the project request form, what happens to that information? Where does it go? So there's, as the way I understand it, there's kind of 2 ways to do forms. And one may be collecting like money or credit card information. That's a much more complicated form process. And it has to be approved on many other levels. So that would probably go to a database, as I understand it. The easiest form to set up is one that would spit the information off to an email. If it's a form that needs some kind of database set up, so like say the form submits and it gets kicked off, and then you want an email to kick off to put it in a spreadsheet, for example, in Google Docs, some kind of action associated with that. It's a little more complicated, and it needs like a database as far as I understand it. But the easiest form to set up is just one that just shoots the information off to an email. And then I don't set up forms, so that's why I'm not as, knowledgeable, but our guys, like when they work with you, they can tell you all the details and like what your options are. Yeah. Yes.
You had said that permissions issues should go to the Digicom email address, but a lot of the places where you work on CMS and where you have the training, it's just sending an email to ask RTS.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the difference?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the question is, I tell people to email digital.communications, but there's also ask ITS. Honestly, I think we need to get more on the same page with the ITS. So there are certain issues that they can handle and they can do, but then there's certain issues that they just end up rerouting back to us. And one of those things is permissions. So a lot of times permissions is a pretty important problem you're having. I can't edit a page. I have information that's timely, I need to activate it. Sometimes through the Ask ITS process, it can take a little bit longer. Not saying that, we're any faster, but that ticket would be rerouted to us anyways. So I want to do a better job of figuring out which specific issues they can handle. For example, I know if you don't know how to use anchors, you can email Ask ITS and they're going to send you a link to our tutorials. That's a great use of Ask ITS because all the information that we have is online and they're just basically saying, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. You couldn't find it, totally get it. We understand. We found it for you. Here you go. But a question that is like you want a form, that would be using our project request form. Or there's some kind of service you're requesting from Digicom, project request form. And then like Jonathan said, like moving a page, you don't have permissions to do that. That's a great time to come to us because Ask ITS can't help you with that. If there are major issues like a bug, like you see a bug, like something weird, there's some error, like 404 error or crazy error, and you can't troubleshoot it, you're not understanding why is this error happening, Ask ITS. It'll get rerouted back to us, but it'll get to our technical team quicker. They use Jira to track that, so it kicks off a ticket. So at this point, use at your own discretion, but I would like to define that in the future a little bit better as far as what goes where. But it's always better to email digital.communications rather than me, although I love emails and I love hearing from you all. I do. But it is better because if I'm out or if I'm in a meeting, and especially if it's an urgent situation, all of us on our team are here for troubleshooting. It's not just me or Karen. All of our team is knowledgeable of the CMS on varying levels, and that's the quickest way to get in touch with someone from our group. Well, great. I think we're at time, and this room is always booked, so we should probably get out. But thank you, and feel free. We can chat in the hallway too if there's someone coming in here. But thank you guys for joining us.